Giving should be seen as what it is. It is a sacrifice. The thing about giving, and we're still speaking about the second phase of the Dream Builder system that creates abundance, right? And we're still speaking about activating the law of abundance through participating in the law of circulation. And the law of circulation is the law of giving and taking, or giving and receiving, to make it very simple. And I think, especially for women, and this is my target audience here, yeah? I think, especially for women, we have to learn how to consciously give and not unconsciously. I believe that a woman's nature is to give. We love to give. We love to give a love. We love to give advice, right? Like, I believe we love to give, but there's also a level of programming that only this trait of us is being highlighted and therefore seen as virtuous. And therefore, many women want to be seen as virtuous, and therefore they overdo the giving. That's why women are caretakers, right? In all of the health care professions, women just give way too much. That's my view on things. And I have been a woman like that too, not necessarily to a default, because I've always had the awareness of money. I always did. I spoke about that in another post, that I've sold my first items when I was 6, 7, 8. Around that time, I always engaged in trade and making money. I loved it, probably because my mom is also a businesswoman, but it was also in me. And I've always known that I could make money with my skills. So I continue to braid hair for money. I continue to sell things, right? Like, I always loved to use my skills to make money. So I knew that I loved money. I knew that I loved beautiful things. I knew that I wanted to look good, and it required money. So it was natural to me to be a saleswoman, to be a woman who asked for something in return. But I want to speak about the the consciousness of giving and what it is in a deeper layer. Giving is a sacrifice. Giving is a sacrifice onto life. And giving, as I said, is the activation of abundance, right? Giving to later on receive something. An old analogy to that is like planting the seed. You're giving something into the ground to then later on receive the fruits of your planting, right? We all know that analogy, but that's life. That is life right there. But also, in every interaction, I'm aware, right? I don't even want to limit it to being a businesswoman. Like I said it, like, I've always known that since I was a little girl. And later on, I studied international business. That's my degree. And I am a saleswoman, and I am a self-mastery teacher. And what I had to learn, or the more I studied spiritual principles, the more I realized that giving, even me sitting here and giving this knowledge, creating this video, right? It is a very conscious act. I am planting seeds. I am creating a body of work. I am releasing my mental energy, my wisdom, my gold nuggets, right? Into into the camera, into a YouTube video. that is a building block of my brand, of my business, of my purpose, of my mission. And it's very conscious. And I want more women to think of giving as a sacrifice, like a gift. Your giving is a gift unto life, because you don't want to give your pearls to swine. You don't want to cast the seeds. There is so many like sayings, right? Like you cast the seeds wide and far or something, and some seeds will fall onto like hard rock. They will never bloom. Some seeds get eaten by the animals, right? Only a few of those seeds will actually make it down into the earth, like root themselves and then come up to become a full blown tree or plant that produces fruit. And that is the same thing with us as humans. And like even that, right? Like our mother's womb is the earth, and our father's sperm was the seed. So only a few seeds made it, right? Many of the seeds died. One seed, that is you and that is me, got planted in the womb of our mother's soil, and we made it, and we're still here, right? That alone shows also the rule of the survival of the fittest, right? Like we're here, we made it already, we're here, and now there's this next dimension of life, on this earth, on this planet in 2026 as I'm recording this. And the same thing is that you, especially as a woman, but also as a man, of course, you are the life giver as well. Like you're both, right? And your intention of giving is the masculine principle. The masculine principle is the giving. It is the intentionality of what is it that you're giving, right? And also, where are you giving it? Where are you bringing your products to? Where are you selling? Where are you selling your goodies? And why I'm saying that is to make a real life example again, is that I believe that many women, even if you have a lot of wisdom, why are you not giving it? And why are you not packaging it in a intentional way, for example, in a book or in a blog or in a YouTube video? Because many women, and I'm speaking from experience, right? I'm a maturing woman, and in the beginning maybe I was also like, okay, let me cast my pearl before swine. Let me share my wisdom and knowledge with people that didn't want to hear from it, right? A prophet is never respected in their community or something like that, right? So I want to invite you to be very intentional with giving, because giving your time, your energy, and pulling from you. You're pulling while you're giving something, you're pulling from your reservoir. And it's like an offering, because a sacrifice is at the same time is an offering to the collective of people. And I want you to understand that, right? I want you to understand that whatever you do, you're first of all, you're giving off of yourself. You could be sleeping while you're giving, right? You could be doing other things, but you decided to get active, right? You decided to participate in the law of circulation of life, of giving and receiving, which is the activation of abundance. So instead of giving to your friends and to somebody who doesn't value you, right? And to the swine, let's just say that, right? Like, just to these analogies, if you know them, they're like they say the whole story very fast. And that's it, right? We many times we waste our energy, we waste our offering, we waste our sacrifice, because it's like taking something out of us to give it to somebody, and we want it to be valued, right? We Because we know that this seed, this sacrifice, this offering of giving has the potential, because a seed is always just the potential. It has the potential to change somebody's life. It has the potential to grow into a fruit bearing tree or plant or whatever. So I want you to be more mindful about your giving and see it as a sacrifice, see it as an offering, maybe even, right? Because the definition of a sacrifice is you're you're giving something of a lesser nature for something of a higher nature, right? You're giving something that is ready to be released from you to receive something of even greater nature. And it's an offering to the divine feminine collective. That's how I see it, right? That's how I see my work. I see my work as an offering to the divine feminine collective, to the feminine collective, to the woman collective on this planet. And I intentionally take my time to give, to sacrifice of my time, to plant the seeds, but also knowing that I will be divinely compensated. That is the law of circulation, right? It doesn't necessarily have to come from only one channel, but I also invite you to be mindful of that, that wherever you give, that there is the possibility of reciprocation, because that is closing the loop, right? So giving is activating the law of receiving. If you That's why many people who are involved into manifestation or magic even, you have to the highest form of power, of potency, of manifestation is to actively participate in life through you offering your value, and the highest value, to understand, to come to a like conclusion of what is the highest value that I can offer to humanity. If you're asking yourself this question, you're already very well, you're very highly developed, right? What is the highest contribution that I can make to humanity? And that is then you sacrificing from your life time, energy, pulling out of you and offering it to the world. And to be very intentional with that. But also know that this is the surest way of you receiving everything you desire in return, because that is law. That is law. That is natural law. That is universal law. There is no randomness in this. There's no randomness in this. It is, you can count on it, just like you can count on the law of the farm, right? If you plant enough seeds, if you plant enough seeds, you will receive at least one crop. But therefore, you have to be a little strategic, right? To plant your seeds far and wide because it happens, even like, especially in tangible nature, that there's a cold winter and none of the seeds on this field sprouted. It happens. So we have to be mindful to cast our seeds far and wide, but especially intentional, not just random, because we also want to come back to the field to tend to it, right? Because this also gives us the highest chances of the sprouting seed that will become a fruit or the ripe crop, right? So I know it's a little cryptical, but I think I conveyed the message here that giving, you should never just give to anybody, not your time, not your words, not your wisdom, not your energy, not your sexuality, not your life force energy, nothing of or about you. You should just give or waste. No, absolutely not. Absolutely not. Right? But I invite you to be very mindful of your sacrifice because that's what it is. Your offer, your time, your energy, your wisdom, your skills, your talents, to offer them in a very strategic way, in a very mindful, in a very intentional way. And there is no necessarily, there's not always a direct correlation. It's not always a direct transaction. But know that there is a law behind that of giving and receiving. And the second part of this whole thing is receiving. And that is also a thing. My brand is called Healing into Femininity because I struggled with receiving. Even though I knew that I had a lot to give, I first had to learn how to systematically give, right? And also to receive, to know what level of value I wanted to receive in return, because abundance is everything, right? It's not, it comes through time, through energy, through resources. And the more mindful you are in the giving, the more mindful you are also in the receiving. But you have to do both. None of those things is a passive thing, right? And still I'm trying to sharpen the message, but I want to make it a little bit more spiritual, not too tangible, but still that you, like, you get the point, right? So you give intentionally, you receive intentionally, but both is an act. It's not passive. You have to give in order to receive, and you have to receive. It's also opening yourself. It's also active. You have to actively let whatever wants to come back to you come back to you. Yeah. So never take your giving, your time, your words, your energy, never take it for granted. At this point in my life, I don't even waste my breath, my words on people that are not willing to listen, who don't have the ears to listen, and who I know that, like, they will not use the message. So preserve your energy and know that every intentional act of giving is a sacrifice of your life force, is a sacrifice of your life, is a giving of something, is an offering to life. And to be even more precise, What are you, like, where are you giving it to? Um, yeah. And then at the same time, let that field feed you back. And it's not selfish or nothing. And even taking away the negative stigma of selfishness, but it's just the law of survival that you give in order also to receive. You give so you may live, right? You give so it can come back to you. So you make intentional giving a priority, and you make intentional receiving a priority. And this is how you can make sure that you never lack, because you are never passive. Because this life is about active participation, it is about taking part of the law of circulation, giving and receiving, giving and receiving. And I know it sounds very easy, or it sounds very common sense, but it's not. And again, I'm going to leave you, I'm going to close this out for now. But the thought I want to leave you with is that the higher your value, the higher your contribution is, that the higher the return on investment will be, in a spiritual sense as well, in a fulfilling sense, in a spiritual sense, but also in a material sense. Because, there is this fact that you get paid according to the the amount of people who could do your job, right? The higher you ascend, the less people can do what you do, right? There are like base level jobs that everybody can do without a mind, without thinking. There are like mid level jobs that people can do with like basic level of instructions. And there are levels of jobs that people can do with a higher, like, psychological capacity and resilience. And then there are people like me, right? And in this case, it's about teaching universal principles from, you could say, from the lowest, but also from the highest point. And also for you, like, think about what is the highest thing that you can contribute. And I'm not, like, even though there is a hierarchy to things and I didn't make it up, I just happen to be that person. Like, that's just who I am. And that's how I chose to um, make my decisions in alignment with who I was called to be. And I followed the calling to become a student of those universal principles. And there, no level of giving is bad. It is about you choosing, and then also positioning yourself at the top, or at the highest level that you can position yourself, is to know that the higher, again, people pay you, life pays you according to the highest level of skills or knowledge that you can contribute to people. This is how you get paid in this hierarchy of life. And think about that, right? So, again, the law of abundance, giving and taking, giving and receiving, the law of circulation, is the law of creating abundance, creating money, creating wealth, creating riches, right? And be strategic about your giving, be intentional intentional about your giving and think about what is the highest value that you can provide the masses, to the masses, to most people. What talent do you have? What what is something that people need so you can help other people ascend to a better life? Yeah.